We're going to call this our inaugural Coffee and Keys. And matter of
Got my
fact,
coffee,
you got your coffee, you got your keys.
got my keys ready to hand out to our next buyer who's closing tomorrow, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, that's always the best. Matter of fact, we had that closing earlier this year with my sister buying her house, and I've never seen a happier person get their keys. So that was pretty awesome. So,
She was great. Yep.
all right, so
Happy
let's
campers.
uh, let's launch into a couple of questions that we kind of came up with here for our first segment. So, Reed, what was your first
Russ.
job?
So my first job, I was actually 15 years old, and I got a job after school at the middle school that I worked at, doing janitorial.
Nice.
2 hours after school.
Actually, I did the same. It wasn't my first job, but that was one of my jobs is cleaning classrooms at a kindergarten school as as a high school kid. And yeah, so my first job, God, was actually working in a medical lab, and I really didn't do anything. It was basically a job given us to us Air Force brats to keep us out of trouble. And I think
Ah,
I was just assigned to read a lot of the tech books, which put me to sleep basically. But I made $1.65 an hour, so I
that's
was
funny.
loving it.
That's about what I made on my first job, was about a buck 65 an hour, as I recall. So,
Crazy.
so what were you doing just before you started doing real estate sales?
Well, you'll love this. Is I was repairing copiers in Sacramento in prisons. I would actually take this big old briefcase full of tools, screwdrivers, and other stabbing implements into prisons and work on copiers. And I didn't really enjoy that kind of work. It was not very gratifying, you might say. How about you?
Wait, I actually was doing property management before I started real estate sales. So going back to about 1993, I worked on large scale property management. So this was a pretty natural kind of next step for me, was going from that to this. And I got to tell you, this is way better than property management. That's a that's a brutal business right there.
Property management is not a kind business. It is not an appreciated business, and you deal with a lot of grief and complaints. So,
Yep.
getting into real estate, here's the next question
Yep.
for you.
hmm
What was your first sale? Do you remember that long? Well, first, how long have you been in business again? How long have you been selling houses?
So I started at my first brokerage toward the end of 2003,
Okay.
and I had my first closing in July of 2004. So it took, about 7, 8 months to get my footing and to get my first closed sale, which was in Stockton, California. It was $308,900, and it was with a buyer that I had met at an open house.
Damn, you're making the big money. God, my first sale, uh, end of '88, I think it was. And this was a client that came into the office. We did a lot of marketing to bring people in back in those days. VA, no down, no closing costs. FHA, no down or no closing costs, but a little bit of down. And sweet couple, VA. So wrote up a VA no of what we called them back in those days. No down, no
I
closing.
remember.
Yeah. And North Highlands, or was it Antelope or Foothill Farms? It was for $65,000. And
Wow.
my first check was $849 commission. And I thought that was hitting the big time.
When you're when you're working for somebody else and collecting a paycheck through W-2s and you get that first commission check, it does seem
Yeah.
like it just changes your entire world, and you feel like you're gonna be rolling in the dough after that. Little do people
Yeah.
know that it's a lot of hard work, and it's a lot of trudging through the muck and the mud to even get that first paycheck, right?
Amen. Amen. But that thing was a month's pay from my old copier job. So again, I thought,
Yep.
sell 4 or 5 of these a month and I'm killing it. So
Yeah. So what was your lowest and your highest sales to date?
well, the lowest one's going to crack you up because I know you don't know about this one. But last year, I
Wow.
sold a $15,000 garage unit at a condo complex.
Just
My
the garage unit.
Yeah, they were sold separately, so that was the lowest priced one, and I think I made $300. So, my
Well,
highest
hey,
price I think was probably
cheers.
no, a mill three. I think that was Shingle Springs, or no, that was Loomis a couple years ago. Well, during a pandemic, and man, I had people going back and forth on the phones, my buyer will go to this because I think we started at, 1,000,001 or something like that. And the guy's like, my buyer will go to, another 50. My guy will go another 50. And it just kept going up. And I think we wound up just a little over 1,000,003 on that one. How
I
about you?
remember that house. I remember going out and meeting with sellers at that house. Um, so my lowest sale was $27,000, and that was in 2010. It was, during the time when everything was really difficult. It was a condo over in Foothill Farms,
Mm.
and I was actually representing a buyer on that one as well.
Wow.
On the other side of that, my highest sale, my own personal highest sale was 1.160, and that was for a very small condo in San Francisco. But I was looking this morning, and you and I together had a sale that was higher than even the one that you just mentioned. It was at 1.430, and that was the one in El Dorado Hills, Jura Court, if you remember that.
Oh, God. Yeah. That was, yeah.
Yeah, that was
Okay.
just in 2022. So that's the highest uh, sale you and I had together.
Yeah. Nice.
Um, but then my highest sale overall, and this one I'm quite proud of. It's not a house, but it was a subdivision in our farm out there in Anatolia.
Yeah.
The old Cambridge lots that actually sold for a $9,588,000 to D.R. Horton. I was
Whew.
a
I remember
listing agent on that, and so
that was
that's
that was pretty amazing that you had that client that bought those out of what, foreclosure or something, and then just
yep,
sat on.
yep. Sat on them, and I was lucky and unlucky to run across that client because boy, he was a pain in the neck to work with, but
Eh,
it all worked out.
the bigger they
You
are
can't.
sometimes, but you really have to earn it.
Yep,
Um,
yep, yep.
so, kind of wrapping this up, I know we're starting to see inventory build up and houses are sitting on the market for a lot longer than they were pandemic. I mean, our average days on the market might be like 2 weeks. Now, 60 days, maybe 90
Yep,
days easy with the way they're just kind of sitting there with
yep.
interest rates, and people were they're always nervous during an election year. So that always kind of throws a wrench into things too. But 2025 is, sounding very positive by all the economists that I'm following right now. We'll see.
Mhm.
But, how are, you handling, the days on market with folks right now?
So, the The main key to that is preparing the sellers from the beginning, letting them know, being very open about it, and not giving them unrealistic expectations. They've got to know what they're in for. They've got to be, willing to be patient, and we've got to be able to get them to price their homes at a level that will minimize that time on market, because there is a lot of inventory, there's a lot of competition out there, and if you're pricing your home equal to, or in the not really competitive with the other homes on the market, then you really aren't going to stand out. So for me, the key is making sure the home shows extremely well and pricing it
Mhm.
at a very attractive price, and prepping the sellers for, just it's going to require a little bit of patience right now.
Yeah.
How about
Well,
you?
we've been through, these markets 4 or 5 times or more, and it's always the same deal. Is you put the house on, very high expectations that a flood of people are going to come in and see it. And when it doesn't happen, then unfortunately you kind of sit there and you work through some price adjustments. But you're right, going on the market initially at a fair price, good price gets people in the door. Everybody's always excited about a new property. And when, say if you're sitting on the market 60 or 90 days, you know what? Taking it off the market for a week, kind of hitting the reset button and putting it on maybe a little bit lower price, you know, that also gets them attention too. Getting them in, hitting that reset button with a little bit better price sometimes, you know, gets that property sold, and their sellers are wrapped up and they're out of there in 60 or 30 days for a closing.
Sounds like the right way to go. And with that, I suppose we can wrap this our little pilot up for today, and look forward to having the next episode of Coffee and Keys.
Right on. All right, buddy.
Cheers, buddy.
I appreciate you. Have a good one.
You too.
All right. Well, we'll shoot that off to our gal and then go from there.
Yeah, so tell me about what